After my CEO wife fired me and divorced me, I told my assistant, "Fire every one of them." The email came through at 3:47 in the afternoon on a Thursday. I know the exact time because I remember looking at my phone and seeing that timestamp and thinking, this is the moment everything changes. The subject line was simple. No drama. No indication of what was inside. It just said, "Meeting tomorrow 9 a.m. Conference Room B. My name is James. I'm 43 years old. And I was about to discover that the woman I'd spent 15 years building a life with had turned that life into a weapon and was about to use it to destroy me. My wife's name was Catherine. She was the CEO of Meridian Solutions, a tech consulting firm we'd started together when we were both 28 years old and believed the world was something we could reshape with enough hard work and enough vision. We'd built that company from nothing. I mean literally nothing. We were both working corporate jobs. We'd meet on weekends in a coffee shop and we'd sketch out ideas on napkins. We'd talk about what we wanted to build, how we wanted to structure it, what kind of culture we wanted to create. It was a dream. It was beautiful. It was ours. Then Catherine went full-time, just left her job, started signing clients. I followed 3 months later. Within 2 years, we had 12 employees. Within 5 years, we had 70. Within 10 years, we were managing a company worth $37 million. And Catherine was the CEO. That had been the arrangement from the beginning. She was the visionary. I was the operations manager. She saw where we were going. I made sure we got there efficiently. It was a good partnership. At least, that's what I'd always believed. She was the face of the company. She was the one in client meetings. She was the one doing the big picture thinking. And I was the one behind the scenes, managing the logistics, managing the team, making sure everything ran smoothly. I was the one who hired every person who worked there. I was the one who trained them. I was the one who built the culture that people loved working in. That was my mistake. I built a culture where people were loyal to me. They respected Catherine because she was the CEO. But they trusted me because I was the one who'd hired them. I was the one who knew their families. I was the one who remembered their kids' names. I was the one who advocated for raises when they deserved them. I was the one who created the environment where they actually wanted to come to work. Catherine had noticed this. And for years, she'd been quietly building a different kind of loyalty. She'd been building relationships with the board members. She'd been bringing in consultants who reported directly to her. She'd been slowly, methodically, building a narrative that I was expendable. That the company didn't need me anymore. The meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. was the culmination of that narrative. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to Catherine, who was asleep, and I thought about the 15 years. I thought about the coffee shops and the napkins and the dreams. I thought about the late nights when we were both broke and would order pizza on credit cards. I thought about the day we got our first real office. It was 800 square feet. We were so proud. I thought about the day we hired our first employee. His name was Marcus. He was young, hungry. Catherine had wanted to go with someone more experienced. But I'd pushed for Marcus. I'd believed in him. And he'd been one of our best people for 7 years. I thought about all the decisions I'd made that had made Catherine's life easier. That had made Catherine's job easier. That had made Catherine look good. Every sacrifice I'd made in the background. Every decision I'd deferred to her. Every time I'd stepped back so she could step forward. Every time I'd chosen the company over my own ambitions because I believed we were building something together. At 8:47 the next morning, I walked into conference room B. Catherine was already there. So were 3 board members. And our company's attorney. The setup was wrong. It was arranged like an intervention. Like they were going to tell me something I wasn't going to want to hear. Catherine didn't smile when I walked in. She didn't acknowledge me at all. She looked at the attorney and nodded. He opened a folder. Inside were documents. Printed emails. Text messages. Financial records. All of it arranged in chronological order. all of it telling a story I didn't recognize. The attorney spoke first. "James, we've conducted an internal audit of your activities over the past 18 months. What we found was concerning. There appear to be inconsistencies in how you've been allocating resources. There are questions about compensation decisions you've made that didn't go through the proper approval channels. There are communications between you and employees that suggest you may have been cultivating an inappropriate loyalty structure that prioritizes your authority over the company's interests." I had no idea what he was talking about. I'd done everything by the book. I'd followed every protocol. But the more he talked, the more I realized something. They weren't actually concerned about what I'd done. They were building a case. They were constructing a narrative that made me look like a liability instead of an asset. One of the board members, a woman named Jennifer, spoke up. "James, we've decided to make a change. We're restructuring the operations department. We're bringing in an external consulting firm to handle those responsibilities. Your position is being eliminated effective immediately. You'll receive a severance package. We'll help with outplacement services. And would appreciate if you would remove your personal items from your office today." I looked at Catherine. I waited for her to say something. I waited for her to defend me. I waited for her to remind them that I was the one who'd built this company alongside her. That I was the one who'd made 1,000 decisions that had allowed her to be the CEO. That I'd sacrificed everything for this. She didn't look at me. She looked at her phone. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't a business decision. This was personal. This was Catherine making a choice about our marriage and making it look like a business decision. She was firing me. Not because I'd done anything wrong, but because she wanted to fire me. Because she'd decided our marriage was over and she wanted to make sure that I had nothing left when she finished. I stood up. I said, "I need to talk to you. Alone." Catherine stood up too. She said, "There's nothing to talk about. We'll handle the details through our attorneys." Then she walked out of the conference room without looking back at me. I went to my office. My assistant, Elena, was waiting for me. She'd been with the company for 6 years. She was young. 28. Brilliant. She'd grown from an entry-level position into someone who managed a team of 12 people. She was loyal. She was smart. She was everything I'd trained her to be. I told her what had happened. Her face went white. She said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. I'm going to go home and talk to Catherine. I'm going to try to understand what's happening." When I got home, Catherine was already there. She was sitting in the living room, her laptop open, as if she was just doing regular work. I said, "We need to talk." She didn't look up. She said, "About what?" I said, "About this morning. About why you let me get fired in front of the board like I was some kind of criminal." She finally looked at me, and when she did, I saw something in her eyes that I'd been seeing more and more over the past few years but had been choosing to ignore. She was angry. Deeply, profoundly angry. At me. She said, "I let you?" "James, I orchestrated it. I've been planning this for a year. I've been documenting your decisions. I've been building a case for why you're a liability to this company. And this morning, I finally executed it. And now I'm going to execute the next phase. I'm filing for divorce. My attorney will be sending you papers on Monday." I couldn't process what she was saying. I said, "Catherine, what are you talking about? We have a marriage. We have a home. We have 15 years together." She said, "We have nothing. We have a contract that I'm choosing to dissolve. And I'm going to dissolve it in a way that leaves you with nothing." That's when I understood the full scope of what was happening. This wasn't about our marriage. This was about the company. This was about Catherine deciding that she wanted everything. The company. The home. The reputation. And she wanted to leave me with nothing. I hired an attorney that afternoon. Her name was Patricia Martinez. She was sharp. Aggressive. The kind of attorney who didn't accept narratives that didn't make sense. When I told her what had happened, she said one thing that changed everything. Catherine made a strategic mistake. She fired you too quickly. If she'd waited 6 months, if she'd orchestrated a slow exit where it looked organic, you wouldn't have any case. But this is retaliation. This is her using her position as CEO to retaliate against you personally. That's illegal. Patricia said, "Tell me everything. Tell me how you built this company. Tell me what you contributed. Tell me what you've sacrificed. And tell me what she's about to try to take from you." Over the next week, I documented everything. 15 years of decisions. 15 years of sacrifices. 15 years of building something that Catherine was now trying to convince everyone was solely her creation. I went through files. I found emails where I'd made strategic decisions that Catherine had taken credit for. I found meeting notes where I'd suggested direction and Catherine had presented those suggestions to the board as her own ideas. I found performance reviews I'd written that Catherine had used to make hiring and firing decisions that she'd positioned as her own judgment. I found all of it because I'd kept copies. Because I was organized. Because that was my job. To document everything. To make sure that nothing was lost or forgotten. And now that documentation was evidence. Patricia reviewed everything I had. She said, "James, you have a case. You have a strong case. Catherine used her position as CEO to retaliate against you because you're divorcing her. She fired you without proper justification. She's trying to isolate you financially. This is what's called economic abuse disguised as a business decision. And it's illegal. But here's the problem," she continued. "Even if you win the legal case, you're going to spend 2 years fighting it. You're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. You're going to have your reputation destroyed in the process." Catherine controls the narrative in the business community. She's the CEO. Everyone knows her. Nobody knows you because you were always behind the scenes. So her version of why she fired you is going to be the version that spreads. I asked Patricia what my options were. She said, "You have 2 options. Option 1, you fight her legally. You prove that she wrongfully terminated you. You prove that she's in breach of your partnership agreement. And you spend years in court proving something that won't bring back what you've lost. Option 2, you do something completely different. You use what you know." I asked her what she meant. She said, "You built the culture at that company. You hired every person who works there. You trained them. You formed relationships with them. Catherine can fire you, but she can't fire your influence. The question is, what are you going to do with that influence?" I didn't understand what she was suggesting. But I knew that something had shifted. I knew that I was angry in a way that I'd never been angry before. I was angry because I'd been betrayed. I was angry because I'd been used. I was angry because the woman I'd loved and trusted and built my entire adult life with had decided that I was disposable. That evening, I called Elena, my assistant. The woman who'd been with me for 6 years. I said, "I need to talk to you about something." She agreed to meet me for coffee. We sat in a quiet corner of a cafe near the office. I told her everything. I told her about the meeting. About Catherine firing me. About the divorce papers coming. About the plan to take everything. Elena listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "So what are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. But I know that there are people at that company who deserve better than what's coming. I know that Catherine is going to restructure the company in ways that are going to hurt the people who've been loyal to us. And I know that I can't stop her from doing it. But maybe I can do something else." Elena said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I mean that I'm going to take everyone Catherine is going to push out and I'm going to help them land somewhere better. I'm going to build my own company. And I'm going to make sure that the people who were loyal to us have a place to go." Elena's eyes went wide. She said, "Are you asking me to come with you?" I said, "No. I'm asking you to do something more important. I'm asking you to help me understand who at Meridian is going to be vulnerable when Catherine restructures. I'm asking you to help me reach out to them. To prepare them. To make sure they know that they have options." What I was describing wasn't revenge. It wasn't illegal. It wasn't even unethical. It was something much simpler. It was taking care of the people who'd been loyal to me. It was giving them a lifeboat before Catherine sank their ship. Over the next 3 weeks, Elena and I worked together to identify everyone at Meridian who was going to be affected by Catherine's restructuring. We identified 23 people. 23 people who'd given years to a company that wasn't actually theirs. 23 people who'd built something with me that Catherine was now going to claim as her own creation. Elena called them. One by one. She didn't tell them to leave. She didn't tell them to sabotage Catherine. She just told them that there was another option. That there was someone who valued what they'd done. That there was a place where they could build something real. By the time Catherine announced her restructuring, I already had commitments from 19 of those 23 people. They were ready to leave. They were ready to start something new. They were ready to follow me somewhere that valued them. That's when I called Elena into my home office. I said, "Tomorrow morning, I want you to go into the office like it's a normal day. And I want you to tell Catherine that you're resigning, effective immediately. And I want you to give her a list of everyone else who's resigning." 19 people. 19 people who are walking out. Elena said, "What about the legal case against Catherine? What about proving she wrongfully terminated you?" I said, "The legal case is about me. This is about something bigger. This is about sending Catherine a message. This is about showing her that you can't build a company on people's loyalty and then betray that loyalty and expect nothing to happen. This is about showing her that the invisible infrastructure that made her look good is actually the foundation of everything she's built. And when that foundation walks away, she's left with nothing but her title." The next morning, Elena walked into Meridian Solutions at 8:30 a.m. The office was already buzzing. People were settling in. Coffee was being made. It was a normal Friday morning. Except it wasn't going to be normal at all. Elena went directly to Catherine's office. Catherine was on a call. Elena waited until she hung up. Then Elena said, "I'm resigning, effective immediately. And I'm giving you a list of people who are resigning with me." 19 people. Catherine looked at the list. Her face went pale. She said, "You can't do this." Elena said, "Actually, I can. And so can they." What happened over the next 2 hours was what I would later learn psychologists call an organizational cascade collapse. It's when one person's departure triggers a series of cascading departures because people realize that the structure they believed in was actually unstable. When one person says, "I'm leaving and I'm acknowledging that this place isn't what I thought it was," it gives permission to everyone else to do the same. Marcus, the first employee we'd ever hired, walked into Catherine's office at 9:15. He said, "I'm leaving. I'm going to work with James. I'm starting a new company and I'd like you to know that I'm taking 3 of my team members with me." Catherine said, "You can't do this. You have contracts." Marcus said, "You're right. I do. And my attorney will be discussing those contracts with your attorney. But the bottom line is, I'm leaving." Then it happened again. And again. And again. By noon, Catherine had 19 resignation letters on her desk. 19 people were walking out, including the VP of Sales, including the Director of Product Development, including the Head of Client Relations. Meridian Solutions went into chaos. Clients started calling, asking what was happening. Employees who weren't leaving started panicking about whether the company was stable. The board got involved. They wanted to know what was going on. They wanted to know why Catherine had allowed this to happen. Catherine called me at 2 p.m. She was furious. She said, "What did you do?" I said, "I did exactly what you taught me to do. I built relationships. I created loyalty. And when it mattered, those relationships and that loyalty actually meant something." She said, "I'm going to sue you. I'm going to charge you with tortious interference. I'm going to destroy you." I said, "With what money?" Because by this evening, Meridian Solutions is going to have lost so much productivity that your valuation is going to drop by 60%. The board is going to demand explanations. Clients are going to start leaving. And you're going to be so busy trying to keep the company from collapsing that you're not going to have time to sue me. I said, and also, Catherine, every single person who left did so voluntarily. Every single person made their own decision. I didn't recruit them. Elena didn't recruit them. They looked at the situation and they decided that staying wasn't worth it. She hung up on me. What happened next was what I can only describe as a mathematical inevitability. Catherine had built a company on my infrastructure. Not on my title. Not on my authority. But on the actual systems I'd created. The hiring processes. The training programs. The culture. The relationships. The institutional knowledge. All of it belonged to me. Or more accurately, all of it belonged to the people I'd hired and trained. When those people left, they took that institutional knowledge with them. They took the relationships with clients. They took the expertise. They took the culture. Catherine was left with a title and a company that was rapidly becoming worthless. Over the next month, Meridian Solutions' valuation dropped from $37 million to just over $11 million. Clients started leaving, one by one, because they'd had relationships with the people who'd left, not with Catherine. They'd trusted Marcus and Elena and the other 19 people who'd walked out. Catherine was just the person with the CEO title. During this same month, I was building something new. I called my company Crawford Strategies. It was going to be structured differently than Meridian. It was going to be a partnership model where the people who built value actually owned a piece of that value. It was going to be a place where loyalty meant something, where showing up meant something, where the invisible infrastructure was actually visible and was actually valued. By the time Meridian released their quarterly earnings report, Crawford Strategies had already signed 15 of the clients who'd left Meridian. I had revenue projections for the first year of $2.3 million. I had a waiting list of clients who wanted to work with me instead of Catherine. I had a team of 19 people who'd taken a risk on me and were about to be rewarded for that risk. Catherine's attorneys sent me letters, threatening legal action, claiming tortious interference, claiming breach of confidentiality agreements. But the reality was simpler than that. I hadn't done anything illegal. I hadn't done anything unethical. I'd just done what I'd always done. I'd taken care of my people. And my people had chosen to follow me. What happened at Meridian Solutions was what psychologists call organizational betrayal. It's when an institution that people have invested in, that people have built their careers around, that people have been loyal to, suddenly turns on them. And when that happens, people don't just leave the institution. They leave with an understanding of how expendable they actually are. And that understanding is contagious. 2 weeks after the exodus, Catherine's attorney sent me official notice of the divorce proceedings. The settlement offer was aggressive. Catherine wanted the house. She wanted 70% of the liquid assets. She wanted the retirement accounts. She wanted alimony. She wanted everything. Patricia, my attorney, looked at the offer and laughed. She said, "She's overplaying her hand. She thinks she still has leverage. But what she doesn't realize is that she just destroyed her own leverage by firing you and then having you systematically dismantle her company." Patricia filed a counterclaim. In the counterclaim, we documented everything. We documented my contributions to Meridian Solutions. We documented the intellectual property that I'd created. We documented the systems I'd built that were now being used by Crawford Strategies. We documented the fact that Catherine had used her position as CEO to retaliate against me personally. We also filed a claim against Meridian Solutions itself. We claimed that Catherine had wrongfully terminated me in retaliation for my pending divorce. We claimed that she'd used company resources to damage my personal finances. We claimed that she'd engaged in tortious interference by attempting to prevent me from using the skills and relationships I'd built over 15 years. Catherine's attorneys countered with their own claims. They claimed that I was using confidential information that belonged to Meridian. They claimed that I was interfering with Meridian's client relationships. They claimed that I was breaching non-compete agreements that I'd signed when I left the company. But here's where Catherine made a critical mistake. The non-compete agreements that she cited, I'd written those. I'd written them 15 years earlier when we were trying to protect Meridian from outside competitors. But I'd written them in a way that protected the company, not the CEO personally. And that distinction mattered enormously in court. When the judge reviewed those non-compete agreements, she ruled that they applied to protecting Meridian Solutions as a business entity, not to preventing me from competing with Catherine personally. And since Meridian Solutions had already fired me, since Meridian Solutions had already tried to damage me financially, since Meridian Solutions had already violated the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing that existed between us, the non-compete agreement was no longer enforceable. What happened in court was what I would describe as a systematic destruction of Catherine's legal position. Point by point, Patricia systematically dismantled every claim that Catherine's attorneys had made. And by the time we were done, Catherine wasn't just losing the case. She was losing credibility. The judge ruled in my favor on the wrongful termination claim. The judge ruled that Catherine had used her position as CEO to retaliate against me personally. The judge ruled that Meridian Solutions owed me damages for the lost earnings from my wrongful termination. The judge ruled that Catherine's personal assets, not just Meridian's assets, were liable for those damages. What that meant in practical terms was that Catherine had to pay me $3 million. $3 million for the earnings I would have made if I hadn't been wrongfully terminated. $3 million as acknowledgement that what she'd done was wrong. But the bigger ruling came in the divorce proceedings. Because once the judge understood what Catherine had actually done, once the judge understood the context of her firing me right before divorcing me, the judge's view of the settlement changed completely. In the divorce ruling, the judge said that Catherine had engaged in what's called dissipation of marital assets. That's a legal term for when one spouse deliberately damages the marital assets to spite the other spouse. By firing me, by dismantling the company I'd built, by deliberately causing Meridian's valuation to drop from $37 million to $11 million, Catherine had committed dissipation of marital assets. As a result, the judge ruled that I was entitled to 50% of what Meridian Solutions had been worth before Catherine's actions caused it to collapse. So instead of getting a settlement based on Meridian's current valuation of $11 million, I was getting a settlement based on the pre-collapse valuation of $37 million. That meant I was getting $18.5 million. The judge also ruled that I was getting the house. The judge ruled that I was getting the majority of the liquid assets. The judge ruled that Catherine was paying me alimony, not the other way around, because she deliberately damaged her own earning potential by destroying the company that was our primary asset. When Patricia told me the ruling, I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't anger. It was something more complicated. It was the realization that Catherine had tried to destroy me, and in doing so, she'd destroyed herself. But here's the thing that matters more than the money. Here's the thing that changed everything. Crawford Strategies was thriving. We had the best people in the industry. We had happy clients. We had a culture where people actually wanted to come to work. We had something real. And Catherine, even with all her legal victories, even with the CEO title, even with the company she'd fought so hard to keep for herself, Catherine was left with a hollowed-out shell. She was left with a company that was rapidly becoming irrelevant. She was left with a title that didn't mean anything because there was nobody left to lead. 6 months after the court ruling, I received an email from Catherine. She was selling Meridian Solutions. She'd accepted an offer from a larger consulting firm to acquire the company. The acquisition price was $42 million, which was actually higher than the pre-collapse valuation. But here's what mattered. Catherine was getting a small percentage of that acquisition price. Because the board members, the people she'd brought in, they'd negotiated a deal that gave her a founder's discount. A recognition of her role in creating the company. But not the majority stake she'd expected to have. In other words, even after she'd survived my legal challenge, even after she'd kept her title as CEO, Catherine ended up with less than she would have had if she'd just been fair to me from the beginning. I didn't feel vindicated when I read that email. I felt something closer to sadness. Because what Catherine had proven was that betrayal doesn't actually work. That loyalty, when it's real, is more valuable than any legal maneuver or strategic calculation. That the invisible infrastructure of a company, the culture that you build, the relationships that you form, those things actually matter more than titles. Crawford Strategies continued to grow. Over the next 2 years, we went from 19 people to 72 people. We went from 2.3 million in revenue to 18 million in revenue. We went from being a startup to being an actual industry player. And we did it not because I was trying to destroy Catherine. We did it because I was trying to build something real. One day, about 18 months after I started Crawford Strategies, Elena came into my office. She said, "James, I wanted to talk to you about something." I said, "Of course." She said, "I know why I came with you when I left Meridian. I came because I trusted you. I came because I believed in you. And I came because I wanted to be part of something that felt real. But over the past year and a half, I've realized something else. I came because I didn't want to be betrayed again. I didn't want to work for someone who would use me and then throw me away. And I wanted to make sure that Catherine paid for doing that to you." I said, "That's not why you should stay." She said, "I know. And I'm not staying for that reason anymore. I'm staying because what we've built here is actually something worth staying for. I'm staying because I have ownership. I have agency. I have a voice. I have what I thought I was building at Meridian but never actually got to build because Catherine kept taking credit for it." I looked at Elena and I felt something shift inside me. I realized that what I'd done wasn't revenge. What I'd done was create something better. I'd taken the infrastructure that I'd built at Meridian, the systems, the relationships, the culture, and I'd carried it into this new space. And I'd made sure that everyone who came with me understood that they were valued, that they mattered, that their work actually meant something. Over the next year, I became an investor. I started helping other people who'd been in similar situations. I started helping people who'd been pushed out of companies they'd built. I started helping people who'd been betrayed by people they trusted. And in doing that, I discovered something that I hadn't understood before. What Catherine had done to me wasn't unusual. In fact, it was depressingly common. It was the standard pattern of how power works in corporate environments. You build something. You make sacrifices. You create value. And then the person with the title takes credit for it and pushes you out. But what I also discovered was that this pattern doesn't have to continue. It can be broken. It can be transformed. You can build an environment where that doesn't happen. Where people are valued. Where contributions are acknowledged. Where the invisible infrastructure is actually visible and is actually appreciated. 3 years after Crawford Strategies started, I was offered an exit opportunity. A larger firm wanted to acquire Crawford Strategies. They offered me $45 million. That was more money than I'd ever imagined having. That was the kind of money that would allow me to retire, to travel, to never work again. But I turned it down. Elena asked me why. I said, "Because what we've built here isn't about the money. It's about proving that you can build something real. It's about proving that loyalty actually means something. It's about proving that the people who do the real work, the people who build the real value, deserve to be acknowledged. And if I sell this company, if I take the money and I walk away, then I'm just repeating the same pattern that Catherine repeated. I'm just proving that everything you build is actually just a stepping stone to someone else's exit." So instead, I restructured Crawford Strategies as a cooperative. Everyone who works here owns a piece of it. Everyone who builds value actually gets to share in that value. We're not trying to maximize profit for one person. We're trying to build something sustainable. Something that actually values the people who make it work. Psychologists call this organizational transformation. It's when an institution fundamentally changes its structure from being hierarchical to being collaborative. From being based on individual power to being based on collective value creation. And what's interesting is that the companies that make this transformation actually perform better financially in the long run. Because people work harder when they feel valued. Because people are more creative when they don't feel disposable. Because loyalty, when it's reciprocated, is more powerful than any management technique. 5 years after I walked out of that conference room where Catherine fired me, I was invited to speak at a business conference. The topic was organizational culture. The question they wanted me to answer was simple. How do you build a company that people actually want to work for? I stood on that stage and I thought about Catherine. I thought about Meridian Solutions. I thought about the moment when 19 people walked out. I thought about how quickly things can change when you realize that the person you've been loyal to doesn't actually deserve that loyalty. I said something on that stage that I think matters. I said, most people think that loyalty is about authority. They think that if you have the title, if you have the power, people will follow you. But that's not what loyalty is. Loyalty is about recognizing value. Loyalty is about acknowledging contribution. Loyalty is about treating people like they matter. Because if people don't feel like they matter, if people don't feel valued, if people feel like they're just part of a machine that's designed to make someone else successful, then the moment they have an alternative, they're gone. I told them the story. The whole story. I told them about Catherine. I told them about the divorce. I told them about the firing. I told them about the exodus. And I told them about what happened after. I told them about how 19 people walked out because they understood, finally, that they didn't actually matter to Catherine. That they were disposable. And I told them that the moment people understand that they're disposable, you've lost them. Not just their work. You've lost their loyalty. You've lost their investment in your success. The conference organizer asked me if I had any regrets about how things turned out. I said, I regret the years that I wasted not understanding what was actually happening. I regret the fact that I didn't see Catherine's betrayal coming until it was too late. I regret the pain that I went through. But I don't regret any of the decisions I made after that. Because those decisions led me to build something real. Those decisions led me to create a company where people actually feel valued. Those decisions led me to understand something that Catherine never understood. That the real power in a company doesn't come from the title. It comes from the people who do the actual work. And if you don't take care of those people, they'll leave. And when they leave, they'll take everything that actually matters with them. Over the next year, I became an advisor to companies that were struggling with culture issues. I helped them understand why people were leaving. I helped them understand why retention was so difficult. And over again, I saw the same pattern. Companies were built on extraction. They were built on taking value from people without actually valuing those people. And they wondered why their best people were leaving. I worked with one company where the founder had built something similar to what Catherine had built. He had the title. He had the authority. He had the respect of the board. But his team was slowly falling apart. People were leaving. The best people were being recruited away by competitors. And he was panicking. I told him the same thing I'm telling you now. You have to change. You have to stop thinking about this as a hierarchy where you're at the top and everyone else is below you. You have to start thinking about this as a collaborative structure where everybody's contribution actually matters. You have to make people feel valued. You have to acknowledge what they do. You have to treat them like they're not disposable. He implemented those changes. It took time. It wasn't easy. But within a year, turnover dropped by 60%. Within 2 years, his revenue had doubled. Because people were actually invested in the company's success. Because people felt like they were building something together instead of building something for someone else. That's what I want to leave you with. That's what I want you to understand about what happened to me and Catherine. The lesson isn't about revenge. The lesson isn't about destruction. The lesson is about understanding how actual value gets created in organizations. And understanding that if you don't acknowledge the people who create that value, if you don't treat them with respect, if you don't make them feel like they matter, then the moment they have an option, they're gone. And when they're gone, they take everything that actually matters with them. I've built something now that I'm proud of. I've built a company where people want to come to work. where people feel like their contributions matter, where people understand that they're not just building someone else's legacy, they're building something that belongs to all of us collectively. And that's worth more than any money I could have extracted from Catherine in the divorce settlement. That's worth more than any company I could have sold for millions of dollars. Here's what I want you to do. If you're running a company, if you're managing people, if you're in any position of authority, I want you to think about your team right now. I want you to think about whether they feel valued. I want you to think about whether they know that their contributions matter. And if the answer is no, if you're not sure, then I want you to change something. I want you to acknowledge someone. I want you to make someone feel like they matter. I want you to start building the kind of culture where people don't leave because they feel like they have no choice but to leave. They stay because they feel like they're part of something real. Because at the end of the day, companies aren't built by CEOs with fancy titles. Companies are built by people who show up every day and do the work. And if you don't take care of those people, if you don't value those people, then one day you're going to wake up and they're going to be gone. And you're going to be left with nothing but a title and a company that's rapidly becoming worthless. That's what happened to Catherine. That's what happens to anyone who chooses extraction over value creation. That's what happens when you treat people like they're disposable. So don't make that mistake. Don't be Catherine. Build something that actually matters. Build a company where people feel valued. Build something where the invisible infrastructure is visible and is actually appreciated. That's not just good for your people. That's good for your business. And more importantly, that's good for your soul.